In 1984, a man auditions for the TV show Press Your Luck. He loves the show so much that he's been on a 3-day trek from Ohio to make it to California, and he's even brought a souvenir plate with the show mascot as a gift for the producer Bill. Usually he works in air conditioning repair, and in summer he drives an ice cream truck. The audition is interrupted when assistant Sylvia reveals this man has given them a fake name. It turns out he took the place of another contestant who was late for his appointment. His real name is Michael, and he's immediately kicked out. Bill laments the loss since he liked Michael, but casting director Chuck says he can't cast a creep. At that moment they hear a weird noise and Bill looks out the window to discover that Michael drove all the way there on his ice cream truck, which now won't start. Bill is impressed by Michael's determination, so he tells him to clean up and come back the next morning for the show. Afterward, Michael goes to a thrift store to get a nice jacket. He secretly rips off one of the buttons and convinces the cashier to give him a discount for the damaged product. Later he just sews the button back on. The next morning, Sylvia gives Michael and the other contestants a tour of the studio. They look around the fictional sets before making it to the game show area. Michael tries to take a closer look behind the scenes, but Sylvia immediately drags him away. Then the contestants are left in a room so they can watch the show while waiting for their turn. Eventually Sylvia picks Michael and 2 more players from the room and brings them backstage, where they meet the host Peter and the mascot. The 3 contestants are taken to their seats and the recording continues with a big cheer from the audience. Peter talks to each player and cracks some jokes. Ed is the winner from the previous day and Janie is new. Michael gets nervous but still manages to talk about his humble job and his family watching at home. Then Peter reminds everyone of the rules. He asks a question, and the first player to hit the button gets to answer. The other players can agree or offer their own answers. Getting it right gives them 3 spins, agreeing with the correct answer gives them 1 spin, and wrong answers get them nothing. For the first question, Janie answers and the guys agree with her. She gets it right so everyone gets spin points. For the second question, Michael presses the button before Peter finishes talking and guesses wrong. Ed gets the third question right and the others agree with him, so that's more points for everyone. Michael finally gets a question right when Peter reads the fourth one. Before starting the next phase, they have a short break. Michael wants to make a phone call but Sylvia explains it isn't allowed. After the break is over, Peter spins the contestants' chairs so they can see the big board. It's a huge screen with various prize panels and a light that randomly highlights one of these panels. The players can press their button to stop the light and get whatever prize it lands on, or they can pass their turn and let their opponents go first so they can get the bankrupt space. The player with the lower score goes first, and that's Michael. Michael concentrates on the board and does 2 spins. First he gets $2,000, then he gets $1,500 and a free spin. Unfortunately his third spin lands on the mascot space and he loses everything, causing him to curse aloud. The production team isn't happy about this since they aren't allowed to put curses on a family show. They check the tape and confirm it's not something they can edit out, so they decide to re-record the reaction moment. Bill is getting nervous because if Michael misbehaves too much, they'll blame him for inviting him. Michael gets scolded and he immediately apologizes. Ed and Janie play next and they make $4,000 while Michael uses the chance to study the light patterns on the board. Then it's time for another break and Sylvia guides the contestants to the bathroom. A desperate Michael tells her that today it's his daughter's birthday and convinces her to let him make a call. Unfortunately nobody answers and Michael starts cursing again. When the break is over, the players go back to play the rest of their spins. Michael goes first since he's still in last place and this round he presses the button with good timing every time, which earns him $13,000 and an extra spin. The production team gets excited and Bill is proud of his decision. Michael refuses to pass and keeps on playing, always landing on spaces that give him extra spins. Peter advises him to take a break since he could lose everything, but Michael is too excited to stop. He keeps on playing over and over and reaches $28,000, which is a new record in the show. The crowd cheers for the new hero, but the production team goes from excited to suspicious. Bill gets so worried that he orders a commercial break and calls Peter to his office. 2 makeup artists come to take care of the contestants and Michael tries to get them to come on a double date with him and Ed to celebrate, but they turn him down. In the office, the production team tells Peter that something is wrong with Michael. They want Peter to scare him by mentioning the statistical probabilities of losing. When the break ends and shooting continues, Peter starts the segment by telling Michael about all the times that he's seen lucky streaks go wrong because a player was overconfident. He even makes some jokes to indirectly call Michael dumb. However, no matter how many warnings Peter gives him, Michael wants to keep spinning anyway. Getting more nervous, Bill calls Chuck and asks him to investigate who Michael really is, since he's afraid they may have been tricked. While the show continues, Chuck searches for Michael's application, which is empty except for a phone. He immediately dials it and discovers it's the show's number. Then he watches the audition tape and remembers the ice cream truck. Chuck searches for the vehicle in the parking lot and when he looks through the window, he sees a collection of IDs, license plates, and videotapes. At first he can't find a way in but a security guard lends him a crowbar. In the studio, Michael has made over $40,000. The production team is starting to freak out and they consider stopping the game, but they can't do so without proof of cheating. Peter calls for another break after Michael surpasses $50,000. Soon Chuck returns to his office with all the papers he took from Michael's truck. There's a business card with the name Lyle Roberts, so Chuck calls him pretending to be a clerk from Justice Court. He asks about the restraining order against Michael he's found, and Lyle mentions that Michael used to run a pyramid scheme scam. When Chuck tries to ask for more details, Lyle realizes this isn't a real court employee, so Chuck hangs up. Next, Chuck checks the tapes. At first they appear to be home movies of Chuck's family, but soon he discovers that those clips have been overridden with recordings of old episodes of the show. After noticing what specific parts of the show were recorded, Chuck returns to the studio and watches how Michael keeps winning money. Following Michael's eyes, Chuck realizes he's memorized the light patterns, and that's why he always knows when to press the button. Afterward, Chuck joins the production team and asks them to rewind to the last 3 spins. He points at the way Chuck's eyes move and how he celebrates early. A horrified Bill reveals that the light isn't random, it only has 5 patterns. If someone watches the show enough times, the patterns wouldn't be hard to memorize. Bill admits that Chuck had been right. Michael is indeed a creep. During the next break, Sylvia hands out branded t-shirts to the other contestants as an apology. They won't get a chance to play because of Michael's overlong streak. Since Sylvia is busy, Michael uses the chance to sneak around and discovers that the makeup artist doesn't mind being flirted with if Peter does it. Since nobody is guarding the phone, Michael calls his family and his wife picks up. She isn't happy to hear from him since he's an absent father, but she allows him to talk to his daughter anyway so he can wish her a happy birthday. He's forced to hang up when the bell rings to announce that the break is over. Michael turns around and discovers that the mascot has been watching him. Meanwhile, the production team argues over what to do. Memorizing can't be classified as cheating, so they need to stop Michael with another strategy. The discussion is interrupted by a call from Peter, who reminds them of the home player spin rule. This gives the team an idea to make Michael fail. Afterward, Peter records a special segment. He explains to the public that for the first time in the show's history, the episode has gone longer than their allotted time, so they may be there until night falls. So far, Michael has won almost $70,000 and he still has spins to go. He goes again and makes some more money before Peter announces it's time for the home player spin. This means that Michael will be paired with a random audience member, who will get the same amount of money that the light chooses next. The lucky person's name is on a card on Michael's desk, so he opens it and is horrified to read Lyle's name. Michael is now extremely anxious, yet he still manages to concentrate and press the button at the right moment. This gets him a trip to a 5-star luxury resort in Hawaii. Peter announces that Lyle will get the same prize. At that moment, a spotlight is moved to make it shine right on Michael's face, blinding him for a few seconds. He complains about it and Janie joins him, so another break is announced. Meanwhile, the network CEO arrives at the studio to confront the production team. He's angry that the game was only programmed with 5 patterns and wants to know who let Michael in. Bill lies, saying Chuck did it. In the studio, Janie argues with Sylvia, since she thinks that the show is giving Michael special treatment. When Janie mentions the phone call, Sylvia drags her away. Michael tells Ed that the showrunners are messing with him because he knows the name on the card, and Ed thinks it was a coincidence, but Michael doubts it. Ed starts to wonder if Michael is doing something wrong. Getting too nervous, Michael goes for a walk to clear his mind and discovers that the phone is gone. Chuck corners him and asks him who he's been calling, causing Michael to panic and run out of the studio. He hides in his truck and discovers that the lock has been broken. When he tries to talk to a guard about it, he gets ignored. Then he tries to talk to a cop, but the man says he just arrived because the studio called for backup. Michael walks away and finds cops everywhere, so he starts assuming they're there for him. After sneaking around for a while and only finding more cops, Michael has no choice but to go back inside. He chooses the wrong door and accidentally walks into another show. The host thinks he's a guest, so he invites him to sit. Michael shares that he just wants to have breakfast with his family, but the only way to do that is by being on the TV screen while they watch. He also says that everything he's done during the past few months was for the sake of his daughter. The interview is interrupted when Sylvia comes to drag Michael back to the correct studio. In the meantime, Chuck goes to see the team and is devastated to learn that Bill has blamed him for everything. An argument is about to start, but an operator interrupts them to point out that the crowd absolutely loves Michael, seeing him as a national hero. If they play their cards right, they could use this as a publicity stunt. The CEO likes the idea, and they agree they'll air this episode by promoting the luckiest man in America. The show continues and Michael keeps on winning. Chuck returns to his desk to cry in private and looks at the phone he took away. When he presses the redial button, he gets to talk to Michael's wife. Soon Michael's money passes the $100,000 mark, which in 2025 would be $300,000. The production team is celebrating only to freeze when Peter announces he has a special call for Michael. Chuck puts Michael's wife in the air and she insults him, saying she's tired of his tricks. She asks him to sign the divorce papers before hanging up. The studio falls silent and not even Peter knows what to say. Michael freaks out and leaves his chair, so they take another break. The production team is freaking out and tries to discover who did this, but the sound technician says he got a note signed by Bill. The editor points out that he can cut this segment out and they should keep playing. However, Sylvia informs them that Michael refuses to come back. Bill goes to talk to him and informs him that they know what he's doing. But they can't stop him. If Michael wants the money, he must finish the game. When Bill calls him a star and a national hero, Michael agrees to go back as long as they let him call his wife first. He picks up the phone only to realize he isn't brave enough to talk to her, so he returns to the show without making the call. For the next round, Michael passes his turn to Ed. The crowd celebrates his kindness while the production team is in shock. A furious Bill smashes the souvenir plate. They agree to air this episode only once and then bury the story forever. After Ed and Janie play, the turn is passed back to Michael, who has one spin left. He chooses to stop the button with his eyes closed. 2 weeks later, Michael's family is watching the show. Lyle gets angry and turns the TV off before taking the girl to school. Michael's wife turns it on again and discovers that Michael won everything. On the screen, Peter asks him what he'll do with the money and Michael answers that he doesn't know. This is based on a true story. After Michael's episode, the network added 27 patterns to the board and set a $75,000 limit for contestants' winnings. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.